I'm good.
Are you? Statement of fact?
Maybe ask me in about an hour.
Welcome to the 4th season of Rated Radio with your hosts Rayburn Alexander and Shane Wyndham. Rayburn, what's going on in your world?
Well, I finally broke Blue down and convinced him to put up a pool for this summer, so that's pretty exciting, although it is my responsibility to take care of it, so maybe ask me in about 2 weeks how it's doing. We'll see.
Well, at least it's something you're putting up, not something you have to maintain underground.
That is true. We are not that rich yet.
Me either. Ain't life grand.
What's going on with you?
Magic. Whole lot of magic.
Care to elaborate on that?
Nope. Roll the intro.
Okie dokie. Well, since Shane decided not to elaborate, I'm not going to ask any more questions because, frankly, I don't really care that much. Anyway.
Aren't you happy to be seeing my face again?
I am. Now I can make sexy eyebrows and eyes at you all I want.
There's something in that Little Rascals film. Like one of the kids does like an eyebrow wiggle. And that's what it reminds me of, not some like sexy thing.
Okay, so a child.
Again, we're family, so probably for the best.
Yeah. Anyway, let's get on to our top 10 list to start off season 4. What do you say?
Yeah, I went with friendship songs. Very open-ended. Make of it what you will. I'm going to start us off because
oh God,
I'm ridiculous.
Yes, you are.
Okay. So I don't have to say what it is. Just expect 2 from me every time.
Okay.
Ready?
Great. Yes, I'm ready.
All right. I have not warmed up my vocal cords, so I apologize if my voice cracks and
shut
splutters.
The fuck up and get to your list.
All right. First up for me is Diddy by Paperboy. Too many folks to acknowledge in one go, but my first best friend was a kid named Jason. He and I loved running around with my Aunt Misty's boyfriend, Jimmy, who we also considered a friend. We were all music and video game fanatics, so bonding came natural. One day at the trailer park, we decided to have a drive-by water gun fight, and I wound up having to ride with Misty, while Jason got to cruise with Jimmy. Worked in my favor, though, because they had this single cranked up so loud that they stayed easy to find. That's why it's here.
Okay.
Second pick for me is Thuggish Ruggish Bone by Bone Thugs and Harmony. In 3rd grade, I wound up close to some kids named Chris and Lynn. Basically, our trio worked because of how much we loved to laugh. A few years later, we all smartened up about how hard it must have been on Miss Shelton, putting up with our idiocy, and so we tried making it up to her with a nice lunch. Chose this song because we were all big fans when it hit the scene, and I can't see the video without thinking of them, primarily because Lynn still reminds me of Lazy Bone, and Chris mirrored his fashion sense and temperament on Crazy Bone. Like I realize he's Hispanic and Crazy Bone isn't, but if you saw them side by side, like in that video and at the time, it's fucking wild.
Okay.
These were awesome people to grow up around. What's your first pick?
Well, I'm not going to get as nice as you are when it comes to the friendship songs because I don't have a lot of friends, but that's okay.
You went literal, I think, right?
I went literal. I mean, there are some on my list that I acknowledge past friendships, but there are some that I went literal, and this is one of them.
I mean, like your list is going to be songs that anyone could apply to friendship, right?
Yes, some of them.
Not my very specific sort of thing. Yeah,
no, but then again, when it comes to you, you're very specific about everything.
Right, I just meant listeners might get something from you that they're not getting from me.
Yes, you will get something from me that you're not getting from Shane. And this is one of them. My first pick is We Are Going to Be Friends by the White Stripes. This was the intro song for Napoleon Dynamite. And since hearing this song, it takes me back to being around 13 years old and loving the absurdity that was that movie. So, yeah.
It is a good one.
It is a good one.
I still remember seeing the trailer in theaters while we were waiting to watch some other movie. And then I didn't even enjoy the movie we went to watch because I had to see Napoleon Dynamite.
I quote that movie constantly. We were watching Waterworld the other day. Blue's choice. We were watching Waterworld the other day, and
Hey, don't knock it. It's a good film.
It's a good film. The little girl from Waterworld, I looked at Blue and I was like, hey, that's Deb. Just out of nowhere. And Blue's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Because he didn't really grow up watching Napoleon Dynamite. Yeah.
We did.
Yeah, we did. What's next on your list?
Goodbye by Hoodie and the Blowfish. One of my closest friends in 6th grade was a girl named Crystal who lived in my neighborhood. Hoodie had blown up that year, and one of the teachers had this song played at our little graduation ceremony. Crystal gave me a rose that day. On top of everything else going on, I remember realizing that my life experience was destined to not fit a mold. Right here I was, happy to be nothing but friends with what most of my male friends would say was the hottest girl in school.
And she gave you a rose?
Yeah, and I was getting flowers long before I was ready to give them. Yeah.
That's some ballin' shit right there.
It wasn't romantic or anything like that.
I know, but still, I would take every opportunity to tell people that you got flowers from the hottest girl in school.
Hence me telling this story.
Okay.
Although, again, I was just happy to be her friend. It wasn't a physical thing for me. Even though in recent years I've told her this already, I feel compelled to reiterate how special I feel to have had her in my life. She looks like she's done beautifully, which is fantastic because I feel like I've done beautifully as well. And it's always nice to see that not everyone you came up with went through the ringer.
Yeah.
Next up is All That I Got Is You by Ghostface Killah and Mary J. Blige. Middle school was a tough time for me because I had begun despising my appearance more and more on a daily basis. Part of what made that period in my life memorable in a good way was my friendship with Mondo and Quentin. Now, I'd been down with Q-Tip since 5th grade, but Mondo was new to us. Both of them lived in the same neighborhood, which wasn't far from the middle school. I just remember staying over at Mondo's with the two of them one night, listening to music and playing a lot of GoldenEye on the 64. These are the guys who introduced me to Third Eye Blind, 3D Mario, and furthered my chess obsession. This song was played a few times that night. For whatever reason, I still think about that from time to time. All That I Got Is You. What's next on your list?
I'll Stand By You by the Pretenders.
Solid.
Underrated. Great song for anyone struggling in a relationship, whether it be friendship or a romantic relationship. There you go.
Cool. I was thinking of saying something really stupid and chose not to, so that's when you get the cool. That's my filter.
Okay.
Anytime, cool.
Either that or, okay.
Yeah, okay.
Got it. What's next on your list?
That's one of my favorite vines, by the way.
I know
the bridge guy.
I know.
Okay. And you're actually the one who showed me that. So.
I was. You're welcome. Okay.
Yeah.
What's next on your list?
Didn't even wait for the thank you. Next for me is Crazy by Machiavelli. That's Tupac. Anyone who's confused.
Okay.
I think it is interesting in all these years, though, on Spotify, they've not like combined them in some way. Like I imagine there are a bunch of kids who know Tupac and they look him up and they think they've heard all of Tupac, but they haven't listened to Machiavelli because they just don't know.
Well, breaking news, children. Machiavelli's a thing.
Yes.
Look it up.
Which definitely played into the faked his own death sort of thing.
Yes, because it happened right before
he
died.
Changed his alias.
Yeah.
Which was built off of Machiavelli, who was somebody who faked his death.
We're going to get into the whole Tupac conspiracy at some point, I'm sure.
I think we already have. It's okay.
We have dipped our toe in the waters.
Not as deep. All right.
Okay.
Crazy by Machiavelli. I was pretty damn tight with some kids named Cody and Chewy in those formative years. They both lived at a pretty infamous apartment complex in Denton that your father also came up in and has plenty of stories to tell.
Infamous.
Yes. We did a lot of walking the train tracks that ran next to the apartment complex or running the streets at night. It's still pretty hard for me to drive around town now and not picture us on foot all those years ago. Such a weird juxtaposition to just be living a normal life and think back on who you were as a kid. It was just, outsider on the street with your homies, right?
You were rolling with your homies?
Yeah. I picked this song because it reminds me of a night we all spent at Cody's apartment smoking blacks that had been coated in NyQuil. The dare, fear-mongering in school was so effective on me as a youngster that I wouldn't go near pot. But for whatever reason, I had no problem smoking NyQuil-infused cigars. Anyway. Wow.
Yeah. See, that's my okay.
All right. Rayburn needs to feel personally invested in something, so let's see if we can get her there.
Oh, God.
So 6 for me is Scandalous by The Click. Long before I knew Cody, I was friends with his cousin Billy, better known as Fro to the world at large.
Mm-hmm.
He was present on that Black and Mild night I just mentioned, but when I think of Billy, I think of meeting up with him at the mall or at Friday Night Live. Still remember being in the arcade playing air hockey with him once when this song came on. Unsurprisingly, both of us were able to play our game and rap along to every last word.
Good times, huh?
Oh man, you've met Billy.
Yes.
Can you imagine growing up with him? My childhood was amazing.
In a way, you and Fro, I mean, the comparisons aren't exact, but you and Fro reminded me a lot of Logan and AC.
Yeah, I could see that.
I feel like Fro was the one that was always...
Those are your brothers.
Yes, that was always the one trying to get you to go somewhere, to do something, to kind of string you along. And that's what AC was to Logan, because Logan's a scared shit. Or at least he was.
Well, the comparison's falling off a little bit here, but...
Oh, I'm not saying you were scared. I'm just saying I feel like he's the one that would take the initiative. Be like, hey, let's go talk to them. Am I wrong on that?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, well.
I think...
I was also very young.
Fro and I were very comparable in our outgoing. I would argue that Billy is a solid 2 times more charismatic than I am.
Okay, maybe that's what it is.
So
I was going to say, completely ignore what I just said, because I apparently don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
There are things in my head, like the bonding experiences and the love of hip-hop and all that
Growing
stuff.
up together.
Yeah. Anyway, what's your next pick?
Next on my list is Photograph by Nickelback, because I will give any excuse to add a Nickelback song. When I was a kid, this is what I often thought I would feel as an adult after all of my childhood friends moved away and we all drifted apart. I never really anticipated the level of distance that would come between us, but thank them for the moments and memories that we had shared.
So, interesting aside, there is a filter on Snapchat right now. It's Chad Kroger holding up the picture frame, and it just puts whatever you want in it.
Have you seen?
And you hear it. Like, it never sings or says anything. It just takes a picture, but you can't not see that and not hear him. Look at this photo.
Have you seen? Okay, so back when Vine was a thing, they cut him saying, "Look at this photograph," and it's just him holding up a picture of a graph. Look at this graph.
No, I did not. I never saw that.
I think of that every time I see that image now. Look at this graph. It's so stupid.
I'm gonna try to X that out of my head.
I'm sorry.
No, it's cool.
I don't mean to ruin your image of that Nickelback song. Anyway, what's next on your list?
Still Po Pimpin' by Do or Die, Johnny P, and Twista. Things got a bit out of hand when I was in middle school with regard to wannabe gang flare-ups, racial infighting, etc., which I eventually took as just another sign that getting out of the public school system was the right thing for me to do at the time. I needed to find myself because going with the flow was leading me down some questionable paths. Even on those paths, though, I met a lot of great people every bit as lost as I was. Ishmael and I made fast friends, but it was probably the most potentially dangerous friendship I've ever had, and that's saying something. It's one of those things like you always want to go into the history, but you
have to cut yourself
you can't,
short,
right?
yeah.
I remember listening to this with him in gym class one day and having that For Life sign carved into my arm. I should have felt afraid at the time of the direction in which I was headed. Honestly, though, all I felt was grateful to be respected by those kids who many of my peers were too intimidated by to get to know. And I still feel grateful, not just because I got away from that lifestyle in one piece, but because it showed me a lot about how willing society is to give up on kids whose only crime starting out is not being born into its polite or well-off side. Taught me the kind of example I wanted to set in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. Deep, bruh.
Deep. He's going so deep right now. What's your next pick?
Yeah, we're in person for the first time in a long time, too, just to make it even more awkward. Good God. Next for me...
What's going on our shirt? Next for you. Sorry.
I would wear that shirt.
I'm sure you would.
He's going so deep right now. Oh, damn it. Is Anybody Home by Our Lady Peace. I remember Joel first showing up with my dad at the party house I lived at in Justin with my aunts and my cousin Corey. At first, he was just a face in a crowd of frequenting strangers. The only thing we really knew about Joel was that he stole Corey's big wheel when Corey was a toddler. Eventually, though, Joel started coming over to hang out without the rest of his friends. We did a lot of drunken bonding over music and had conversations where no subject was off limits. He was one of the first people in my life to treat music like it could be more than entertainment. Apart from the obviousness of him constantly asking, is anybody home? Because he came over a lot, you know, and he'd just knock and walk in and is anybody home, right?
Was there ever an instance where he walked in and no one was home?
Oh, he broke into the house at one point when no one was home.
Why?
To play video games. There was actually a night when...
Pretty sure that's a crime.
Corey and I woke up in our bedroom. We had this giant room. We swapped bedrooms in that house a lot. And when we had the big room, we were asleep on opposite sides of the room, and we both woke up because we were hearing something, and it freaked us out. It was Joel sitting on the floor. I think he had crawled through a window that he figured out was unlocked, and he was playing video games.
Was there a reason that you never gave him a key?
No.
Are you seeing now that was a missed opportunity?
I didn't control the keys.
Oh, okay.
I will say that. I wouldn't have stepped on my aunt's toes and just given a key to her house to somebody, but him breaking in and playing video games is he was in his late teens at the time.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
Actually, I think he might have been 20 or so at the time. Anyway, It doesn't...
Justify it however you feel, bud.
So he always asked, is anybody home, right?
Got it.
Not always. We just established that. Whatever.
He definitely did not always ask.
Man, I picked this song because it reminds me of everyone calling us boring one night when we were discussing the brilliance of Rain Maida's purposely not finishing lines in some of Our Lady Peace's songs. We would sit around and talk about shit like that. And that's what y'all are so boring. Can we stop?
Which is funny because he DJs.
Yeah, but he doesn't have to talk much. He just plays music.
That's true.
That's years, by the way, of following the command of next song. That's what we got a lot.
So no hype.
No. What's your next pick?
Okay. What's next on my list is Just a Friend by Biz Markie. Friends with benefits is a thing, in case you're new here, especially in 2021. Not that I can relate.
Okay. Oh, I thought this was going somewhere.
Nope, not going anywhere. The discouraging thing is that in most cases it leads to one party wanting more and most likely ends in heartbreak. This is a nice, uplifting break from that melancholy. Yeah, so it's just a good song.
I would agree.
Okay.
It does have that comedy aspect that like Splackavelli has. So if you're struggling with not being able to land someone that you want.
Yeah.
Listen to this
Just a Friend.
And imagine that person is, the one singing it, and it'll probably take some of the edge off that attraction.
Does anyone, I would love for listeners, if anyone knows all the words to Just a Friend, please comment on this episode because I can never get past the chorus.
Have you ever met a, I know it off the top.
Do you know the end of it though?
I don't know.
See? That's what I'm saying. I think the very beginning and then the chorus is as far as I get. And it's just like, I don't know what that was.
That's probably what the words are at the end. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. This is a completely useless fact. But if you've never seen Biz Markie, he was the beatboxing alien in Men in Black.
Nice.
I'm not wrong.
The more you know.
The more you know. So there you go. What's next on your list?
My last two for the first half are My Best Friend by Tim McGraw. My cousin Corey's mom was once married to a guy who had some rather southern children. One of those kids had a fun-loving redneck friend named Thomas, who we wound up spending a lot of time with throughout our teens. Dude was wild. He was also in love with my Aunt Jennifer, and she treated him like the most boring goober that ever was. I never quite understood that. One thing to not be attracted to someone, another thing to write them off as no fun. You know what I mean? He used to tell her that this was his Jennifer song. And then one night, while we were cutting loose in a very well-lit pool, she finally got an undeniable look into his wild side. Short of it is that he took off his tighty whities and tried catching her in the water.
Oh my God.
Good times. Last one here is Dreamer by Ozzy Osbourne. When Corey lived with his dad, one of his neighbors was a kid named Jason, different Jason. He was another very common face in our crowd during those teenage years. He never seemed to mind being sober among a bunch of people who were way throwed. almost all the time when he was around.
Mm-hmm.
And this dude could talk to you all night long about music. He was a Korn obsessive who eventually branched heavy into Metallica and Ozzy once he started learning to play guitar. What I always enjoyed about Jason's company was that while his tastes clearly leaned metal, he, like myself, favored those softer moments in these artists' albums. We listened to Dreamer a lot when it came out, which is why it's here. Final pick for you?
Final pick for me. I don't think you want this, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. It's Wannabe by Spice Girls.
By the way, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Really,
No,
I
you're
am.
not.
But do you ever think, like, if
Put together the thought.
you say that so much, there's so much regularity to you saying that I wonder sometimes if people infer that's like your come on at the end of the night. You may not want this.
You may not want this,
But I'm going to give it to you anyway.
I can neither confirm nor deny what is said in my bedroom.
Spice Girls.
Yeah. Wannabe by Spice Girls. It seems that every 90s girl jammed this at one point or another. And I, being a typical 90s kid, was no exception. Most of these moments and this song was played in the presence of your sisters, your lovely, lovely sisters. And I wouldn't trade those moments that I had with them for anything in the world. So, yeah. Oh.
I'm just realizing the lyrics being to tell me what you want.
What you really want.
And the whole,
Yep.
whether you want this or not, I'm
Yeah.
going to give it to you.
Yep. It's come full circle. It really has.
So,
You're a regular detective.
Are you ready to talk about the Black Keys?
I am.
Let's do it.
All right. So yeah, first artist is the Black Keys, chosen by me as my Battle of the Bands pick. The first album that we covered was Brothers from 2010. This was my top album.
This was my bottom album.
Oh, okay. So I gave it 8 5s out of 15 tracks.
I gave it 4.
Harsh. My top track was Howlin' For You.
Too Afraid to Love You.
And my bottom track was 10 Cent Pistol.
I'm Not the One. I am not the one.
Okay.
Not today.
Okay.
Sorry. I've been listening to a lot of our friends' show, so
I haven't.
semi-friends. Continue.
Anyway, what I want to say about this album is it's gritty. What I like about it is that it is unpolished. Production value or production quality not high, but in my preference, it plays in their favor. Guitar is the standout on this album. Bluesy with hints of Chris Isaac sound for me.
That's what my notes say.
Oh, okay. So
No,
regardless of what I said, your notes would have said,
I'm kidding. I wrote that it's bluesy, funk-inspired Southern rock. It occasionally felt like they were trying to mask musical monotony behind thick layers of distorted fuzz. I suspect that's the appeal for most listeners, though. I found some winners here, and that's all that matters. The rest was like an elevator in Tarantino's house. Some cool solos in places, so I would agree about the guitar work. Unique, but mostly just not my bag.
That's fine. Although the whole elevator in Tarantino's house, I feel triggered by that. I wouldn't mind it.
I know, but it's still elevator-ish feeling.
If you've never heard a Black Keys album on vinyl, especially like this one with the whole gritty, kind of staticky sound.
The crackle.
Yeah. It's good.
Raybert, do you have to watch like the Star Wars films on VHS?
Just to get that crackle.
Oh, what's the next album?
Next album is El Camino from 2011. This was my middle pick.
This was my middle pick.
I gave it 4 5s out of 11.
5 5s.
Oh, look at you go.
I'm topping you. What's happening?
I don't know. Top track is Gold on the Ceiling.
Same.
And bottom track is Nova Baby.
Little Black Submarines.
I thought you would have dug that song. I thought that would have been your top.
It's not horrible.
It's not horrible.
It's the only thing that got a 3 for me here.
Okay.
Which was a step up from the previous album, for sure.
All right. More of the Brothers sound, but added more harmonies. Not as gritty, not as unpolished. Almost 60s inspired guitar riffs and drum beats. And it sounds more retro to me. I actually own this album. It's a good album.
I figured you actually owned all these albums.
I don't. I have...
You just... Okay, you said a Black Keys album in general. You didn't say Brothers specifically, so... I
did say Brothers specifically. I've listened to this album at a record store.
Okay.
So I have heard it on vinyl for the record, but I own El Camino.
El Camino.
El Camino. Yeah, Blue bought it for me at an Urban Outfitters.
I'm going to be honest. The only bias I felt in anything we've listened to recently was when this album came up.
Okay.
And
Why?
it was just because of the title. It made me think about the Breaking Bad film that's out now.
Ah, okay.
Which was a good thing for me. So it started off on a good foot. But what I wrote was, this was a more consistent effort with a slightly cleaner sound. It was mostly the chorus work that fell short for me here. Have a look at this album cover. If you're drawn to that cover, this disc might be for you. Not a knock. Feels like an accurate representation of their 70s analog-laden sound. Groovy and listenable.
See, I'm glad you said something about the album cover, because if you're expecting to see an El Camino on the album cover, you're going to be severely disappointed.
That's something.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't, if it was given to me when I was a kid to drive, I'd drive it, so.
It reminds me of a cover that like Ben Folds could have used back in the day, which is weird because they don't have the same sound at all. You just expect that visual from Ben Folds, but you get it from the Black Keys, and it matches the sound for me. Like this is the music you would hear in that car. Yeah. On the cover. Okay. Their car, minivan, whatever it is I'm looking at.
I don't even know. I don't even know what it is. Anyway,
somebody's gonna write us like, that's my dream car. Plays 8 tracks.
This is the type of vehicle that when Gage, my nephew, Blue's nephew, was younger, we used to make fun of him because when he would talk about his first car, he would always talk about like a Camaro or a Corvette or something sporty. And we always used to tell him, out of punishment, we would all chip in and buy him a van that smelled like dog pee. A fucking
70s lemon is what I'd buy his ass.
If anybody's ever seen the Diary of a Wimpy Kid movies, probably not. Anyway, the older brother Roderick drives a white van that says, and the name of his band is written on the side of it, and it says Loaded Diaper. So we always told him we would get him a van just like that smelled like dog pee. I think it was dog pee.
I wanted to flex because I've seen this film, and then I realized I don't remember anything about the movie.
Okay.
I bet if it came on, I would know a lot of it. But.
Yeah, I'm sure you would. I don't know why you would. Why would you watch that movie? That was before you had children.
I watch all kinds of films. Yeah.
Okay, I'm not gonna...
Anything and everything. I'll watch a movie.
Okay, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole with you today. I'm just not of what shenanigans you get into when you watch movies. That's all I'm going to say.
Left to my own devices, primarily I will watch horror films.
Yeah, because your wife doesn't like them.
Yeah, but I like to watch adolescent films.
Speaking of, I'm rewatching.
They're fun.
I'm rewatching Haunting at Hill House. I don't know why. I tried to start it with Alyssa, and then she left, like, through the first episode. And I'm like, well, I'm just going to keep going. So I'm watching Haunting at Hill House
Was
again.
she scared?
No, she had...
I've been meaning to ask.
Yes.
So something that's come up in the show a lot is the film Valley Girl.
Yes.
How do you personally get through the bedroom scenes with the doll? I'm fine with it, but the main love interest in the film, she's got a doll in her bed. It's one of the more terrifying you'll see in film.
On other things.
Okay.
That's all I'll say. I also, since we're talking about Hill House and Valley Girl, I've learned that instead of just dolls, and I'm not scared of them, they make me uncomfortable. Anything with a human face and figure is kind of off-putting to me.
You don't like humans?
I hate humans. I hate myself. Self-loathing. Anyway, I realized the beginning of Haunting at Hill House I didn't like because it's all those statues.
Oh.
Yeah. I've realized, like, mannequins, not in like department stores per se, but like in museums. I hate the Sam Houston statue. I hate it. I flip it off every time we drive past it. I cannot stand it. To me, that is just... Ugh. I hate it. I don't know why, but I've learned that it's things with human characteristics that aren't living, like there's no life in them whatsoever. That's the thing that does it for me.
This is like drugs into my veins right now. Halloween's going to be so interesting this year.
I know.
More Black Keys, please.
Yeah, okay, sorry. So the next album that we covered was Turn Blue from 2014. This was my bottom album.
This was my top album.
I gave it 2 5s out of 11 tracks.
6 5s.
My top track was Way of Love.
Yeah, Weight of Love.
Weight of Love.
I said the track 10 Lovers was right there too, but I love the Floyd vibes in Weight of Love.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
It sounds so much like Floyd's Breathe. Mm-hmm. Oh, damn.
I think that's why I was attracted to it too. By the way, I don't know why I never finish writing words. I've learned that this is a trend with me.
Are you a genius like Our Lady Peace's lead songwriter?
I might be. If I am, it's very closeted. My bottom track is It's Up to You Now.
Year in review, the chorus let me down.
All right.
I didn't give a single 3 on this album. It was all 4s and 5s.
Oh, I gave lots of 3s, and I'll say why. This was a more psychedelic direction for me. It feels like I'm in a fear and loathing fever dream. At times, it reminds me of a song called Playground Love by Air, which we talked about in our soundtrack special. So if you're interested in that, check that out. And I promise that wasn't a plug. I literally didn't even write that down, but I realized that we talked about that there. So
cool.
What about you?
I wrote, finally, an album that felt just as inspired by Floyd, the Moody Blues, and The Who as their other albums had by Zeppelin and the Beatles. Mm-hmm. Much of the comparable vocals to the Yvette Brothers are gone as a result here, and you're left with something sounding closer to the White Stripes, but that's a minor gripe for me.
Well, I'm going to interject here. Oftentimes they're compared to the White Stripes, so much so that Jack White hates the Black Keys.
Oh, I could see why.
He absolutely hates them. He thinks that they stole his style.
There are a lot of comparisons to be made.
There are. I just wanted to say that.
And that may have been what's problematic about the other albums for me, is the vocals reminded me so much of the Yvette Brothers, and I like what the Yvette Brothers do, but the music was not the same. It's just a vocal feel. But here it's gone, and that was really my only drawback, even though it may have given me better feelings about the album. Anyway, the choruses are stronger, the funk is spacey, and I really enjoyed it. Please note that the Beatles vibes here were minimal.
Ah, okay. Well, another couple of things that I want to mention about them is if you like any of what they have to offer, especially in those 2 earlier albums, you can check them out. Music from them is featured in Black Snake Moan, which totally fits. That movie, this sound totally fits.
Agreed.
They were also featured in Boyhood, Eastbound and Down, and in the I'm Not There Bob Dylan biopic. They were also, the Black Keys themselves, were in an episode of Workaholics, Shane.
Were they?
Yes. They were the 2 guys that the Workaholics kept commenting about their bodacious ponytails.
Dang.
What's
up with all these books?
What's up with all these books? By the way, that For Sure gif is still one of my favorites. When Blake turns around and he's in that fucking
For the very first episode, yeah.
For Sure. Anyway, similar sounding songs. I thought that Turn Blue sounds like Jesus Is Just Alright With Me by the Doobie Brothers.
Don't know it? It's okay. Continue.
You've seen Freaks and Geeks.
Yeah.
You know that song that Millie, the really uptight chick, plays? It's like in the middle of a party. People are drunk everywhere, but she goes there to be the designated driver. And she sits down at the piano. Jason Segel's sitting next to her, drunk, or what he thinks he's drunk. And she just starts singing, Jesus is just all right with me, in the middle of this party. Listen to it.
Musically, the only thing I think of when I think of that show is...
and
listening to the Moody Blues.
Oh, the Moody Blues. Well, he was really, really big into Rush, too.
Yeah?
Yeah. Anyway, they also made a hip-hop album called Black Rock with RZA, Q-Tip, and Mos Def. And Jim. Is it RZA or...
It's RZA.
RZA. Go to hell, Shane. Go to hell.
It's a good song by The Clash.
Okay.
Or Go Straight to Hell, I think is what that one's called.
RZA, Q-Tip, Mos Def, and Jim. I don't know who the hell Jim is.
We don't even remember what you're talking about
anymore. They made a hip-hop album with them. Check it out. The only person I know is Mos Def. I've heard of RZA, but I've never heard it said. So, go to hell. Robert Plant is also a huge fan of the Black Keys. Robert Plant being from Zeppelin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder why.
Yeah. The band also got its name from a friend that used the name The Black Keys to describe anyone that was a bit off.
By the way, when Zeppelin comparisons are made here, it's of the super slow emotional tracks.
Yeah.
I would say I don't want to give them too much credit because it's one of my favorite Zeppelin songs, but Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You. Mm-hmm. Stuff like that. Slower Zeppelin, not the super popular Zeppelin that you know.
Okay.
If you're not invested in lead.
Hey, Shane. RZA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wu-Tang Clan ain't none to fuck with.
Is there anything that you would like to say about the Black Keys before we move on?
Yeah, I felt like there were some odd drum moments and signature changes. It was just noticeable. Mm-hmm. I think some people might really get into that, but for me, it was a drawback. Their music makes me feel like I'm leaving a bar at dawn. Like I've been drinking all night in a smoky-ass bar and the sun's coming up and out we go.
And you feel dirty?
Yeah.
Got it.
And drunk and ready to go to sleep and can't yet because we're going to IHOP. You know, it's actually with the Black Keys. With the Black Keys, we're probably going to Waffle House or something.
We're going to the dirtier of the.
I'm not looking forward to the experience. Yeah.
Couldn't even say a Denny's, man. You got to say Waffle House.
Waffle House, yeah.
All right.
It's not to knock people who love Waffle House.
Oh, no. I mean, Waffle House is good.
To be most successful in the future, I wrote that I think they could add that extra layer of instrumentation in more places and aim for less monotony in the music. Like, it's not uncommon for the same melody to kind of follow through in the chorus with just some minor little change to the drums or something. Mm-hmm. And every now and then they would throw in, like, you'd get the keys in the background, or you'd get, you know, the guitar melody that pops in, and it just really made those songs pop.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's why if you're a producer, most of the people you're talking about working with them, they're hearing something that the rest of us don't.
Yeah.
They're hearing music that needs something put on top of it.
Okay.
And normally those musicians are putting something on top of it. Here, you're just getting it with that. It's missing something. I don't know. In places.
Well, it is only two dudes.
Fine. Fair enough. But they do layer things.
It's missing someone.
This listen wound up being much better than I anticipated. The line between dull and great feels particularly thin with this group for me, and I'd easily confuse them with a number of other groups, but I'm still glad my time with them yielded a solid 1/3 of winning tracks, which is more than you can say, actually. I'm surprised. I didn't realize your 5s would be so low.
Why don't we just move on?
Break time.
Yeah. Let's all go to the drive-in. Okay, yeah. Let's take a break.
What the fuck was that?
The intermission song at the drive-in, you idiot.
I've never been to a drive-in.
You've never been to a drive-in?
Nope. It's been on my to-do before you die list for 20 years.
Yeah, we need to change that, like, really, really fast.
Let's take a break.
Yeah, let's take a break.
And we're back.
I'm still trying to recover from you saying that you've never been to a drive-in. Hopefully now that you have children, that'll change, because it's a great experience when you're a kid.
I feel like you go to a drive-in to make out.
No.
And to make out and not have it lead to, like, fucking or orgasm or something just feels weird to me.
No. It'll change. That's your perception now, but you're a father now, and once you start bringing your kids to the drive-in and you're sitting in the back of your car watching a movie and kids are in the back eating popcorn.
I was only joking, Ray Renee.
I'm just saying.
I see the appeal. Like I said, it's on my list.
Do it. We should
Do you have a song recommendation?
I do. It's Drink You Away by Justin Timberlake. Think of a 1960s Nashville gospel, soul, and pop song. If any of that entices you, check it out.
My song recommendation is Cover Me Up by Morgan Wallen. It's country, and I'm told we're all supposed to hate this guy. I don't know the story there, so don't come at me. Don't tell me if you know. I don't
know
give a
either.
fuck.
No, I'm new to this country thing.
But this song is up there with some of Chris Stapleton's best tunes. Give it a listen. Putting a video of it up on our YouTube as well.
You said the magic words.
Stapleton?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My ears went, I don't have any plugs, but I do want to say, in case you haven't heard the news, and I hate to be the one to break it to you, I've been breaking a lot of bad news this week.
You don't rip Band-Aids off. I wish you would.
I know, I'm sorry. DMX passed away.
This is true.
Okay, so you are aware.
Yeah, if you listeners, if you stick with us for, I think it's going to be 3 weeks to a month from now, we'll be covering said artist with another musical guest. Stay tuned.
And you have the audacity to tell me to rip off Band-Aids, and I am just learning of this right now.
Yeah, I ripped off a Band-Aid. Doesn't it make for a more interesting listen?
I'm sure it does. What's your plug?
Go subscribe to the YouTube channel run by Dennis Pauna. Pauna.
Act like you know what you're talking about.
I just don't know how to say the dude's name. The guy redoes famous songs to sound like other bands recorded them. Example, want to hear what it'd sound like if Typo Negative wrote Simple Minds' Don't You Forget About Me? Even if your answer is no, it'd be a yes if you took the time to check this guy out. Stellar work, and he does it all himself.
Well, looky there.
I'm serious. Don't sleep on it. Go to YouTube.
I'm not gonna.
Dennis Pauna.
But that's it for me. I just wanted to make mention of not only did Prince Philip die this week, but I'm staying relevant, Shane. But DMX died, and I did not believe it. My sister told me.
You realize people won't hear this for 2 weeks, right? By the time they hear it,
So
it's
I'm
no
not
longer
relevant.
relevant. Yeah.
Okay, well, maybe I'm still recovering, so check on me.
Okay.
So anyway, that's it for me. Are you ready to move on?
I am.
All
I
right.
will add, I definitely think it's sad, the
Yeah.
DMX thing, because he's a great in my book.
Yeah.
Second half, here we come.
Yeah. Shane,
Yes, ma'am.
who did we cover for the second half of our show?
Maria Mena,
And why did we cover Maria Mena?
because I love her music.
Okay. She was your Battle of the Bands pick.
That's correct.
All right. So we have mine and Shane's Battle of the Bands picks going head to head this
Yeah.
week. For those of you that weren't paying attention,
We got Rayburn's. Here comes mine.
here comes Shane.
I'll introduce Maria Mena as a piano songwriter, primarily.
Okay.
So, female piano songwriter. If that sounds like something you wouldn't be into, cool. Just don't listen or keep listening. I would hope your mind is a little open.
Shane is done trying to convince people to listen to his artist.
I just didn't want people thinking this was a Nightwish situation. Like it's some Finnish symphonic group. It's not.
No, it's not.
So the first album we covered was Cause and Effect from 2008. This was my bottom of the 3 albums.
This is my bottom as well.
Out of the 13 tracks, I gave it 11 fives.
I gave it 3.
My top track was Where Were You?
My top track was All This Time.
My bottom track was Cause and Effect.
And my bottom track was Power Trip Ballad.
I wrote that there are a few underbaked tracks at the start of this disc. Otherwise, this thing is a powerhouse of acoustic odes to life and love from the perspective of a girl who struggled with the monsters she inherited from her mother. Even the few tracks I don't love have stellar lyrics.
I said it reminds me a lot of Florence and the Machine vocal-wise. This album does. Don't cringe at me.
Yeah, I don't get that vibe at
Okay.
all, but that's, I don't know.
Yeah. It's also reminiscent of Bjork at times. Very indie. She has a beautiful, beautiful voice. I will note that there are also 2 covers on this album. One is I Was Made for Loving You by Kiss. And another is It Must Have Been Love by Roxette.
Roxette.
So
That's my shit.
I know it is. So I'm curious. It was track 12. What did you give it?
I gave it a 5.
You gave it a 5. I gave it 4.
It was different enough that I actually want to hear it.
There is something about those 2 covers. I don't particularly gravitate towards covers, and I say that. Please ignore the Reba episode because I liked both of those covers. And the Nightwish episode, ignore that.
She's 50-50, I think is what we're getting at here. She
Yeah.
thinks of herself one way, but she's about 50-50 on the spectrum of
I
covers.
really enjoyed these 2 covers, and I don't typically give covers a super high rating, but they both got 4s from me. I think the reason why I didn't give them 5s is because it's not her original songs. So anyway.
I get you.
Anyway.
So that having been said, I will expect any artist we cover from this point on who did not write their own songs, they can't get 5s. Oh, no.
I know. I played myself.
I'm kidding. The next album we covered was Weapon in Mind from 2013. This was my top album.
This is my middle album.
Out of the 13 tracks, I gave 13 fives.
First perfect rating of season 4. Shane does not disappoint.
Took a whole 30 or 40 minutes to
I
get
know.
there.
I know. You held out for as long as you could, man.
You?
I gave it 4 5s out of 13 tracks.
Well, alrighty.
Alrighty.
I think I'm finally beginning to get somewhere with unraveling this Rayburn thing. If it's new to you, I think it's going to have months and months to grow before you really love it. Unless it's country. Yeah, feel triggered now. My top track was I Always Liked That.
Same.
I didn't have a bottom track.
Oh, God.
I really didn't.
Okay.
They're all fantastic songs.
Are you ready for me to hurt you?
Go ahead.
My bottom track was All the Love.
Yeah, that definitely hurts.
I figured it would for somebody that doesn't have a bottom track.
If you're a parent and you had some stressful times with one of your parents, then I think you're really going to relate.
I think this comes across, and this is me being sounding sarcastic, but I'm pretty sure listeners can tell that you're a dad and I am not a mom. Newsflash.
Yep, newsflash.
Yeah.
If I were being hypercritical, I could saddle this album with some degree of repetition and instrumental choruses instead of lyrical choruses. But I love those things here, and that's the difference. There's a lot here about mental illness and familial dysfunction. It's a perfect folk pop roller coaster. Feels like something my mother would write from beginning to end.
Aww.
Yeah.
I wish I might have to go back and listen to that because now I'm really curious. What I want to say about this is I thought the production value was increased, a larger sound. It added techno inspiration, and I loved the 80s like symphonic techno that was underlying through this album. So
yeah, more like Ingrid Michaelson's Stranger Things album.
Yes.
Is that what that album's called?
Yeah. Welcome to the Freak Show, man. That was my top. Was that your top track?
But it wasn't called Stranger Things, was it?
I'm pretty sure it was.
Okay. Stranger Things inspired album. How about that?
I mean, look at the cover. How could you not tell?
So the last album we covered was Growing Pains from 2015. This was my middle pick.
This is my top pick.
And as will be obvious here, this was my middle pick because the first album we covered had more tracks. This one had 11 tracks, and I gave 11 fives.
You know, I'm getting real tired of doing this.
Sorry.
Okay, well, I gave it 6 fives out of 11, which is not bad for me.
Pretty damn good for you.
Not bad for me.
What's interesting about that is that the majority of the songs here are all love songs. They're not.
I can relate to love.
Interplay of, mental illness and dysfunction. And
yeah, I can't relate to that at all.
I'm perfect, just like Joseph.
Yes, I'm perfect. But you know what I don't come with? Forehead wrinkles.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't. I don't come with forehead wrinkles.
Literally, as you said it.
I don't come with. Yeah, but they're not permanent.
Neither are his.
I don't know.
They're not there when he's not.
I'm trying to cause self-doubt over here. Just kidding, Joseph. Yes, you're perfect. Probably not going to hear this.
Whoa.
Okay. Yeah. So my top track was Leaving You.
Mine was You Deserve Better, but Leaving You, fuck yeah.
And my bottom track was The Baby.
No bottom track again. Ugh. I'm sorry.
You're exhausting sometimes.
I'm not trying to pander here. It's just my honest feeling.
I would be lying if I said that I didn't expect it from you.
I don't do it often where I don't have bottom tracks.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying how you feel about artists that we get to hand select. Obviously, we're both going into it with, I say, a bias.
Yeah, which is something we should address too, because it's not bias. It's of all these hundreds of artists that I've spent time with their discography on my own. This is one of those that's purposely chosen because she ranks way the fuck up there. Like when I heard her music, it just kept getting better.
Okay.
That doesn't happen with everyone, so I'm picking the people who it does happen with.
That's fine. That's fine. That's better than my system of picking artists.
Which is what?
No system.
I like a bunch of songs by this artist, or for some reason I feel like this is a great artist.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm telling you, I have no system. So when I selected Black Keys and you were like, just when you said you weren't basic, and I was giving you some sort of credit.
Which, to be fair, I hadn't listened to the Black Keys, and I don't think they're as basic as I always said.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. What I want to say about the album is, for me, it's reminiscent of Sia's later work. I appreciated the songwriting here, and it struck some personal nerves with me. So.
Yeah. Another flawless album. This one's songs are more love-centric and may therefore be more accessible than Weapon in Mind for listeners. So if I'm recommending something, it's Growing Pains. If you ever need a cathartic experience by way of music, I can't think of a better album or artist to fit that bill.
Some other things that I want to consider about Maria Mena is, for me personally, and this may be completely off base because I am a first-time listener of Maria Mena. I hadn't heard any of her stuff up until this past week, which Shane has talked about her several times. Her name has floated around my family, and again, I somehow missed jumping on that bandwagon. Anyway, I compare her to Sia, Bjork, Florence and the Machine, as I've stated throughout these albums. I think the thing that you need to take away from when listening to Maria Mena is she is a strong female vocalist. I think that having comparisons to those three different artists, in my opinion, says something about her. And again, I may be completely off base, but paying her a compliment because I really did enjoy what she brought this week. The music makes me feel like I'm night swimming, like I'm weightless and washing away. So take that how you will.
It's pretty good.
Thanks. I surprise you sometimes.
Yeah. So what's odd is that I wrote that I could recommend this music to fans of some other artists.
Mm-hmm.
None of them were the ones you mentioned, but apart from Florence and the Machine, I've never really gotten into. Those others I think are great artists, but I would have said Carrie Noble, Vanessa Carlton, Birdie, Tori Amos, Taylor Swift, Ingrid Michaelson, Adele, Eva Cassidy, etc. If you get into any of those names, you're going to love Maria Mena. She almost exclusively writes her own material. Again, there's a cover or two here, but
yeah,
it's almost all stuff that she wrote. The music makes me feel like my younger, more vulnerable self, which I miss that guy sometimes. But
hate to break it to you, bud, you're still pretty vulnerable.
No, not really.
You're more in touch with your feelings than I would say most that I know.
Yeah, I can talk about it. It just doesn't bother me like it used to. Like, I don't feel it as deeply as I used to.
But there is, for me, there's a difference in you still acknowledge it. You know how to deal with those feelings now a lot better than back then, which I could say is a part of the age thing. But what I'm saying is you are so open and comfortable with talking about these things. Most people don't.
Oh, okay.
And I think that there is a stigma behind that we need to get away from, that, you know, that whole male machismo thing of don't talk about your feelings. We need to move so far away from that it's refreshing to know that someone still feels those feelings and learns how to deal with them.
Yeah, most definitely. Every guy I know is emotional behind the scenes. They have hardships. They cry. They go through things. I don't know if there are other people in your life that are judging you for it, but I'm definitely not. I don't give a damn.
Oh, you're talking to them directly.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like, I know people that would gladly kill someone on a back road if they needed to, but these people still cry. Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
As far as music videos go,
I derailed that conversation. I'm sorry. I was trying to pay you a compliment.
Music videos.
Okay.
Miss You Love remains my favorite reflection of what most of her music is like, but Leaving You is also right up there. Those music videos are fantastic. If you just want to dip your foot in the water and see what she looks like and hear her sing, go check that out. I wanted to add that my first experience with Maria Mena is because of Amy. She owned one of the albums. I think is her debut album, actually.
Which we did not cover here.
Which...
Did we?
I'm surprised that you don't know this artist, because my sisters,
that's why
some of your cousins, all in love with that first Maria Mena album.
That's what I'm saying. I knew of her. I hadn't listened to any of her. And it's not like your sisters are the type, especially when it comes to me, to wrangle me and sit me down and be like, listen to this. That's kind of reserved for you.
Yeah. You
catch me after a couple of drinks and you're like, you gonna listen to this. I've been trying to get you to listen to it for weeks. Or you'll just send it in a voicemail. Either way.
You make me sound like I'm some music monster that
you're
just
not
waits
a music monster, but you will force me to listen to these things that I either don't take the opportunity to listen to myself.
Rayburn will buy you a record and bring it to your house. And if you're gaming, she'll be like, we should listen to that record that I bought you.
I'm not going to comment on that. Gage and I are interchanging, because I got him a record player. Gage and I are interchanging albums, and I bring him new albums and take away the old ones because he's building a collection. But until he can pay for them himself, I'm letting him listen to some of mine, and I call it homework. So first thing that we do is listen to a couple of the top tracks on all the albums that I bring him.
Props to all of the functional music relationships out there. If you don't know what those are, let me elucidate. What you do, what's appropriate, what's proper, and I'm learning this as of late, is if you know someone who loves music, they're going to share a song with you, then you get to share a song with them, and back and forth and back and forth. And if it doesn't work like that, then it's not really working.
Since you say that, would you say we have a healthy music relationship?
Yes.
Okay, good. Because I don't want you to ever think that it's like one-sided, because I know I can be a little pushy.
No, and that's, again, why I've been trying to unravel whatever it is you are and what strikes you, because that's the only way that I'm going to learn. It's not normal. Our music relationship is not normal, but it is functional.
Okay.
In a good way.
I'll take that.
We come from very different places, and
our struggles have been different.
We normally have to hit each other at different times with the strange things. This is going way off base.
Okay, sorry.
To be most successful in the future, I think she should make more music videos to boast her name recognition. I think that would go a long way for...
You just want to look at her.
She is beautiful.
She is very pretty.
That's
not what draws you to her.
Yeah, I don't crave going and looking at her. Makes you feel better. I don't, so...
I gave him a look. I know that's not the reason why you're enticed by her. I found out this past week that I am attracted to people that are talented. Who knew?
Who are you attracted to now? Who got you this week?
Blue and I were talking...
The way you said it, by the way, made it sound like if somebody's talented, my panties get wet.
We were talking about Justin Timberlake, and I said, I think that's the reason why I'm so drawn to Timberlake and Stapleton and Brendan Urie from Panic at the Disco, as I think talented vocalists, like talented male vocalists, I think I'm really drawn to, because there's something about, which I don't want to say Justin Timberlake's name too loud because he's in some trouble too. Anyway, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. Anyway,
please don't. Thank you.
I won't. But yeah, I realized maybe there's something about like a soulful male vocal artist with good range that I'm really attracted to. I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know. Anyway.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
It's emotionally evocative coming from the opposite sex. Mm-hmm. And especially if you feel like you live in a world where men are stigmatized to not show their emotions, then that would definitely be
This is getting
appealing.
Incredibly deep. We going too deep.
Put it on a t-shirt. So... With regard to Maria Mena, the last thing I want to say is that first album isn't as musically satisfying as the others, but I chose it because I loved the transition from her earlier work, which was already pretty emotionally raw, into this fully nude territory. This much bald honesty in a songwriter is a rare thing of beauty. And I think that is stigmatized in both ways.
I think you're right.
So women are far less prominent in music at this point, just because there's a lot of history. Mm-hmm. There's also still a lot of barriers that they have to break down or through. She's done fantastic at it. And I don't know who is helping her dreams come true behind the scenes, but hats off to you, because it doesn't sound like she's had to change her vision at all.
I definitely think she needs to be more of a thing. And I'm honestly surprised that she's not, because if Tom McDonald is a thing, if Timmy T is a thing, and I keep coming back to them, there's no way that Maria Mena should not be more successful. Sorry.
So before we get to the second half of our list, only one thing I wanted to mention is you might notice it going forward. Probably won't, because we never discuss purchase value, but that's normally how I pick my album ranks. I'm picking them any way I want to now. So I'm not using a metric.
So what is the point of the paperwork?
Because I still feel like it's a good representation.
Okay. All right.
The problem is sometimes I am that person who just wants to hear the hits.
Okay. Sometimes
I want a consistent experience, in which case you'd lean on the average. And sometimes you just want to know, am I getting value out of this? And that's why 3s, 4s, and 5s, whatever. Okay. Small thing, but anyway.
Who won for you this week, Shane?
Maria Mena.
Do you want to take a guess for me without looking at my results?
I wasn't looking.
I
still think it's the Black Keys, but...
Nope.
Really? Mm-hmm. That must have been close, though.
Maria Mena got a 4, even 4. Yeah, Black Keys got a 3.8. So not super far, but enough distance. Maria Mena took it for me this week. I could not get into really that last album. I liked it. I just didn't like it as much as I thought I was going to. And that was the reason why I picked it, because I had never heard it. I wanted to hear it. I wanted them to be close together.
Can I say how refreshing it is, by the way, that even though you hype an artist that may not come through with as much consistency or hits as I would have anticipated out of my level of excitement for that same type of thing, you're still reasonable. Like, your results are still pretty on par with what I would expect a reasonable human being listening to the music to think of it.
Let the record state I'm a reasonable human being. But yeah, Maria Mena, these 3 albums that were selected, consistent across the board. So literally 2 albums, the Cause and Effect and Weapon in Mind, got the exact same average. And I had to go based off of my 5s, which was a 1-5 difference. So that, and then my top album being The Growing Pains at a 4.3, they were all in really good places.
Cool.
So yeah, Maria Mena. So,
well, since you're already talking, what's your next song pick for our friendship songs list?
My next song pick is Thank You for Being a Friend by Andrew Gold. Golden Girls fans, where you at?
Right here.
This is a true show about friendships withstanding the test of time. If you have never looked at a friend and saying, thank you for being a friend, you are not a real friend.
Also, if you're an adult now and you are of the male variety, heteronormative, that sort of thing, right? The vast majority of people on the planet, if you feel stigmatized against watching Golden Girls, fuck that noise. This is one of the greatest shows.
I think I've talked about Gage a lot in this episode, probably more than I should have, but he really enjoys the Golden Girls. And kudos to him for really liking that show. So
it's good shit.
It is. It is. I don't even want to ask you which Golden Girl you think I am, because everybody that I've asked always says the same thing.
I'm not going to think about any of that. I was getting ready to say that horny, funny old ass women. I love that show.
The women that don't give any fucks.
Yes.
In their old age.
Abrasive as fuck. It's fantastic. It's what every person should aim to be. Hopefully most of us can get there a little earlier in life, but
yeah. I get what you mean.
It's so good.
What's next on your list?
Mexican Radio by South Park Mexican. It is a cover, I realize, but Aaron was yet another friend my cousin and I shared. This dude liked to retain control of his own stereo, and you rarely knew what you were going to get music-wise when you rode with him, which is something I did a lot when we were staying in Granbury. We lived quite a ways outside of town, and the closest restaurant to us was a Mexican joint. A really good one, though, and anytime we had enough money to go there, SPM is what he played on the drive. I don't even know if it was conscious for him, but damn did we listen to this song a lot
Seemed like
on the way.
Every time you were on your way, that was the song that was playing.
Yeah.
Fitting.
It was definitely the artist that was playing. So my other pick is 45 by Shinedown. At the bowling alley, I worked with a girl named Doretta, who was the daughter of a league bowler. Now, she became someone near and dear to my social circle outside of work pretty quick, and she's always been a ton of fun to be around. But I recall realizing pretty quickly that there was much more going on in her head than the life of the party personality she let show. We used to stack the jukebox with our favorite tracks before opening a lot of the time, so that we didn't have to listen to whatever entire fucking album the regulars were currently in love with directly when we opened. You know, save that for when everybody's been drinking.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I was trying to get a soda order in on the phone one day and told her to just make my picks for me. And this was the first thing to come on, something I hadn't played on that jukebox in ages, because it reminded me of the breakup with Jay. When asked why she chose it, she said it was because she knew I liked it, which meant she'd been paying attention to little things since long before we were close. And I'm still glad to have someone that thoughtful in my life.
Yeah, that's always really, really nice to have someone pay attention to the stuff that even you forget about. Yeah. Next on my list is You're My Best Friend by Queen. This is classic on all counts and shows that sometimes all you need in life is one really good best friend. I've had too many friends filter in and out of my life, not saying anything ill about the relationship. It's just time does funny things and distance does funny things. And sometimes people just lose track of one another. And knowing that all you really need is one really good one and you'll be all right.
Yeah, I would agree.
There's, what is it? It's not quantity, it's quality. So there you go.
I don't know. I like a little bit of both. You know what I mean?
No, you
No, I'm
to
kidding.
each his own, man.
It's really strange, too, that we have someone we call a best friend, and at some point they stop being that best friend, and then there's
a new best friend.
Yeah, it's just like love. Saw some quote the other day about love being forever, but life being temporary. Like,
yeah,
I get that. Like, no matter... I don't know. For me, it just never goes away. Just like love and friendship. I always have those same good feelings about a person unless they fucking burn the shit out of you, which has rarely happened in my life.
I do too, but it's not like we talk as much as we did, or we keep up with each other as much as we did, or we even see each other anymore. But I will say, aside from a very, very limited number of people outside of my family, the majority of my friends are my family, because you're stuck with them people. Yeah. And that's not a knock. That's not a knock against anyone that I'm really close to in my family.
Sitting in here.
I choose to associate myself with either family or friends. So the fact that I get the added bonus of having really, really good friends within my family is something that I'm really, really thankful for.
Yeah. I like the friendships can be the family you choose.
Mm-hmm.
Just, it's hard as an adult when you realize that friendships can be so situational.
Mm-hmm.
So try to get over that pretty quick. Like Amberlyn would say, never take friendship personal. It's just, yeah.
Okay.
Is it time for my next pick?
Yes, it's time. I've talked enough.
Cool. Next up for me is Just a Thought by Gnarls Barkley. This one's for Codes. I've talked about him. He's been on the show.
Yes, he has.
We've been on his and Austin's show.
Yes, we have.
If you want a history lesson in friendship, please refer to the Semi-Friendly Podcast.
And here we go with a plug, secret plug.
No, I was just going to say to not do so would be to miss out on the quirks and insights of one of my favorite human beings, by which I mean Austin. Codes may have been the one to add songs like this to my lexicon of variety, but it was Austin who never stopped trying to get me to fuck his girlfriend's roommate. His intentions were noble.
I'm sure.
And I apologize for not making that magic happen. Good looking out, though.
Okay. Yeah, noble.
I've got another one. You ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
It's Those Nights by Skillet, a song for D. For a while there, D, Joel, Fro, and I were like peas in a pod. Life was a party, but Daniel always seemed to have his wits about him, with good advice at the ready, and Lord knows I needed plenty of it. The late night conversations are what stand out most to me now, in spite of the mass amounts of insanity we got into. I miss our time together every time I hear this track. That's it.
Okay. All right.
What's next on your list?
Next on my list is Summer...
Rayborn.
Oh, God. Next on my list is Summer Nights by Cassie Steele. Shane, you know this song.
Sadly, I do.
Yeah, listening to this song with my childhood best friend on repeat was something of the best and most carefree moments of my life. You know who you are. But yeah, this song was sung by Manny from Degrassi, The Next Generation.
Sometimes doing a podcast with you is questionable. You go to a place that I just...
And yet you still choose to do every episode with me.
I remember seeing Degrassi on the TV. I think there was a point where we were watching it at our great aunt's house of all places because I never controlled the TV.
Why the hell would we be watching it there?
That's a good damn question.
Why would we watch it there?
But it was happening. It's a good damn question. But I remember seeing this, and every time that show was on, I would think, what a fucking train wreck. You people are going to be so fucked up when you get older. Is this what you anticipate out of just high school life or middle school or whatever it was for them?
Sex bands. It was middle school and high school. Sex bands and school shootings and teenage pregnancies. And yeah, it made for entertaining shows, man.
My kid wanted to play a video game last night and he sits in my lap to play video games and help me. Mm-hmm. And I clicked on Resident Evil 2, the remake, not realizing it was going to be as hardcore and as brutal as it is. Mm-hmm. And I was worried that he might have nightmares or something. So
his favorite, isn't
we turned it off pretty quick. Oh, he loves it.
I'm sure.
But it was a comforting thing in the back of my head. Like there's that noise that's always there. Like at least he's not watching Degrassi.
Oh my God.
Next pick for me is You and I Both by Jason Mraz. Holly and I became close after the breakup with Amy. She's one of the most intelligent people I know and has always pushed everyone around her to be whoever they feel they would be if we didn't exist among societal pressures. If you've ever seen Dave Chappelle drifting comfortably between funny and philosophical, you may as well have met Holly. She'd find the most interesting conversation in the room and root herself there. She was also always big on hearing whatever songs I was working on. Her hugs lasted longer than anyone else I've ever met, and I'm glad to say that she's well on her way to being a published author now. This is a woman I love dearly at a time when I wasn't trying to love anyone. Luckily, our friendship continued to feel natural. And
there's more.
More talking out of this guy. It's Walking Downtown by Copeland. Here's one for the firecracker friendship I had with a girl named Crystal, different Crystal. We wound up close through friends of friends. The few times we met up alone in hopes of finding fun, we just end up walking and talking. She was an instant friend for everyone I ever saw her meet, but she never let you feel unimportant to her, even if the entire room wanted her attention. Knowing her helped me be less afraid to talk to everyone around me instead of focusing my energy into a select few people. I hope to impart that feeling of lively worth to my friends now, the way she once did for me.
Okay.
Now it's your turn to finally talk.
Now it's my turn. Next on my list is Stand By Me by Benny King. This takes me back to church camp during the summer, a time where I got the meanest case of chub rub I had ever had
Nope,
in my
nope,
life.
Never heard that reference before. I'm gonna need a definition here.
Okay, so
I think I know what it is, but I need to hear it come out of your mouth.
I'm a thick-thighed goyle, and I thought it was a good idea to wear shorts that summer. And back when shorts were not the longest of length. Yeah, it was hot as balls, and I had given myself chafing on my inner thighs. And me being the genius that I am, didn't have Band-Aids or cream or anything of that sort. But apparently I had duct tape, so I duct taped the inner parts of my thighs so that I could get through the day. But the funny thing about duct tape is once you put it on, you need to take it off. Yeah, super painful. But aside from that, this summer and this song was spent with friends near and dear to my heart. Yeah, so the chub rub was not that bad when I had good friends to spend the summer with.
So interesting aside to upset the man's man type people that are out there.
Okay.
I found this out recently because we have kids now. My wife tries to buy all of the medicines and things in advance. Mm-hmm. And when she got pregnant the last time, the doctor recommended a bunch of stuff. So we wound up with other types of things that we never had any use for, like Vagisil.
Uh-huh.
But guys out there, if you're listening, I want you to know that the same active ingredient in antifungal creams, almost all of them that you'll ever use, it's the exact same thing that's the active ingredient in Vagisil.
So really, men are rubbing Vagisil on their bodies.
Yeah.
If that didn't just bring you back down to earth, I don't know what will.
Chub rub.
Chub rub. Hey, I need to tell you this before we move on. Blue, I don't know if he came up with this new expression, but I was so impressed by it.
You're building my hopes way high right now.
He said, I don't want to say this because it sounds bad to him. We were yelling at each other jokingly, like giving each other shit. And he said, yeah, I remembered it now. I'm sorry. And he looked at me and he said, "Shut up, you cock pocket."
Nice.
And I couldn't even be mad. It's a terrible expression. It really is. I acknowledge that. He acknowledges that. But I looked at him with the most serious face and asked him, "Did you just make that up?" And he said, "Well, I've never heard it before. I don't know why I said it." And I was like, I'm kind of digging it.
Oh, yeah.
So, cock pocket.
That's card worthy.
Yes.
Next deck of Humans Against Everything, we'll definitely see a cock pocket card.
And this is why I tell you these things. They're too good not to share.
Oh, my God.
What's next on your list, cock pocket?
Well, this is way in a different universe from where we are, but eclipsed by Evans Blue. Samantha, in many ways, the best friend I ever had. Thank you for everything, and I do mean everything, even the worst of it. Our friendship may always continue to be nothing more than a shadow of what it was, but I'm now of the mind that even the shadow is worth celebrating. Friendships are meant to evolve, and it's because of you that I know said changes don't make them worthless by default. And the next is Forever May You Run by Gavin Rossdale. My friend turned brother-in-law, Sean. Congratulations on the birth of your second son, Hugo. I hope that whatever you've been going through recently is beginning to work itself out. Sadly, I don't know what you're going through because I've been horrible about staying in touch. I get overwhelmed and upset by the amount of literal distance between us, and it's made me distant. It's not because I stopped enjoying your company, though. Quite the opposite. If you're hearing this, know that I picked this sappy shit because I hope at some point you do start taking it easy on yourself.
I miss Sean.
Yeah. Welcome to the club. We need to start a support group for
people that Sean's move has affected greatly.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be so bad, I think, but the financial situation in the U.S. right now, like it's so hard to just get by.
Yeah.
That when are we ever going to have, what it takes to just go visit at will halfway around the planet?
Yeah.
It's an investment.
Blue and I keep talking about potentially going back and actually staying with Sean and Aiko because that invitation is still open. I mean, I don't know now that they have 2 babies, but...
Oh, shit, they'd probably be more open for it. Someone to watch the kids.
Yeah, that could be fun. But yeah, it's a depressing subject that we probably don't need to get on. Anyway.
Where y'all going? We just got here. Oh, we're going to go fuck in the woods. Y'all have fun. 2 kids. They speak some English. Have fun.
We're all going to hang out in Sean's bedroom because it's the only one with air conditioning.
We'll see y'all in a week when it's time for you to go home.
Next on my list is Graduation, Friends Forever by Vitamin C. Another song that reminds me of friendships past and accepting the fact that though we are thankful of the friendships we have had, it is the flow of life to close one chapter and start anew. But please remember, even though times may be different and circumstances may not be the same, I still cheer you on from afar.
Cool.
Yeah. And that's it from me.
Well, I still got 2 more.
I know you do. I can count.
Sorry.
Why are you apologizing?
Well, I talk a lot. I write a lot.
Oh, that's the joy of having a podcast. It kind of gives you that outlet to talk as much as you fucking want. So yeah.
So if anyone's still listening,
anyone out there,
thanks for sticking around. Here are my last 2. Brotherhood of Man by the Innocence Mission. This one makes me think about my friendships with Amanda and Neil. I hate to lump these 2 together, but there really is something to be said for the same grounded vibe I get when interacting with either of them. All 3 of us present like such collected characters, but damn, the stories we could tell or the sheer amount of madness we're dealing with behind the scenes is astounding. I look forward to these bonds growing stronger into the future because this song makes me feel the way their company does, and I could use more of this level of chill in my life. Last pick, Raven will approve, It's Never Gonna Be Alone by Nickelback. I originally wanted to use Rewind by Jibe, but it's not available on Spotify. I'll throw it on YouTube, whatever.
Thank you.
As I said at the outset, there are a lot of people I wanted to talk about here, but just didn't have time for, room for. It just didn't make sense in the flow.
Another list, another time.
Yep. Both of these tracks go out to those of you who I missed today. When I hear Jibe singing, If I Could Turn the Hands of Time, I'd go back and rewind to the days I spent with you. I hope the people from my past know that's exactly how I feel. And the Nickelback track is meant to make clear that I'm still here for you. With almost no exceptions, it's been good to know you if I know you.
Well, there you go.
That's all I got.
I like to think that we made a couple of friends during this episode.
We at least remembered our friends.
What do you say we draw for next week?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
All right.
As was previously mentioned, things are a little different. The jar has been redone. Every artist is paired up with someone similar.
Yes.
So let's see what we pulled.
What do we got there?
It's a recommendation from Lillian Miller, which is a road, not a person.
What the fuck?
I don't know.
We got an artist recommendation from a street.
I think this is something random that came in, someone trying to be anonymous. I could speculate.
Let's not speculate.
About some things that have happened on Lillian Miller in my lifetime, but it's Audio Slave, so yeah, I think this speculation definitely
fits.
Fits.
I'm just gonna cling to the fact that a road gave us a recommendation. I like the idea of that.
If you missed the Audio Slave story, go back and check it out. It's in one of the lists, and that's quite a story. But Audio Slave is paired up against the Foo Fighters.
The Foo. I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad.
Me either.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good week.
Nice change of pace.
Yeah.
And
welcome to season 4, everybody.
Yeah, shit's about to get super real.
Yeah, super real.
Back to weekly, so that's a lot of fun too. Mm-hmm. Episodes are coming out on Mondays now. That's all I needed to say. That's going to do it for this week. Hit up our playlist to hear all the songs we talk about, get our full ratings, t-shirts, and even some bonus episodes. Hello at teespring.com/ratedradio. Guide what we listen to by suggesting new artists for our jam jar. You can even send us voice messages on Facebook for a shot at being on the show. Your support really is what makes or breaks us, so thank you for listening and sharing. And until next time, fill your world with music.
Catch you next week, cock pockets.